Hello and welcome back to Clockwork Dandy Noodles, the channel where Becca continues to break down the anime of this season. This season getting more and more interesting as we enter the final quarter. We have 4 episodes left of Zombieland Saga, and this week's episode has done something very peculiar, but we will discuss it in a moment. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel because there is a video going your way in now 3 weeks that you guys are going to want to catch. That is the Spring 2021 wrap-up and my projection for summer. What 4 anime have I chosen to bring to you guys to the table? I think I've got something for everyone, and I think I really enjoy the choices that I've made anime-wise, so I really hope you guys too find something on my list that you too are interested in, or maybe I can even persuade you to start watching a title you haven't considered. Before we get to that, there is a great way of staying in the loop. That is by going to visit the Discord channel, giving it a like, and you can lurk. Notifications go to your phone whenever videos go up, apart from today when for some reason Discord has slacked off and hasn't mentioned the fact there is a new video up on the channel. So gotta go and have a look at that and fix that once this video goes up. This anime just got a whole lot more interesting on a whole new level, and I don't know what to make of it. So let's take it down and actually look at what the implications really are. This is episode 8. And episode 8 is probably my favourite episode so far because we've gone back in time. And this episode has a lot of little details that really catch my eye. It's got a whole lot of things going on that really is my genre. It's my interest. There's a lot of stuff this episode that I really, really like. And just how beautiful is Yugiri. Absolutely beautiful amount of details on this costume. This costume is gorgeous. Absolutely solidly gorgeous. The details on the kimono, the patterns all on there. All of those details in the hair, like the kanzashi, the pins, everything. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yugiri is a fantastic character, one I also really like. We find out that she was just far too popular to the fact that she ends up with no customers. So popularity ends up killing her reputation, ends up killing her career in a sense that you hit the top too fast, you peaked way too quick, and now there's nowhere to go after this. The details in the wall painting are absolutely beautiful. The lighting in this scene is gorgeous. Everything is beautiful. We find out the reason that Yugiri ends up going to Saga. She ends up being granted a freedom, going to Saga to hopefully create a life for her own, which is outside of the entertainment industry. But the man who ends up buying her freedom ends up dying quite quickly. So Yugiri ends up all alone in this new world. Saga is alien to her in a sense. She doesn't know anybody here, and she simply has no direction. That's why it starts getting very interesting. We see the 1881 version of Sakura trying to sell some fruit. And then we are introduced to Kichi. And Kichi is essentially Kotaro. I believe it is the same voice actor. You can't fool me because there's only one person who goes really, really high pitch like this and ends up stuttering like this. And it's the same character. This is what starts to make me very interesting because essentially all of our characters show up this episode as a different version, as a past version of themselves, which is very interesting, shall we say the least. And it's making me wonder now if this story about idol anime, something that a lot of us just mock, make memes out of, and have a great deal of fun with, is this anime something more? Is this anime deeper? Discount past Kotaro ends up crashing into our Junko of the 1881, so another character appearing as an Easter egg perhaps, maybe more, not quite sure, where we get behind the whole Kichi motivation. What is he really fighting for? Is the idea of Saga, making Saga the prefecture, creating a new Saga, one where everyone can feel welcome. And this is something very, very similar that we've been hearing throughout Kotaro himself, his idea of making Saga stand out away from everybody else, be its own place, have a unique Saga. I don't really know a great deal about the history of Japan, so when we're diving into the Meiji period and what was happening at the period of westernization, all of this is completely fascinating to me because I don't know about it. It's all history that I don't know about. I do have a degree in history, but I studied Western history, so a lot of my stuff comes from Western history. I never really got the opportunity to study the history of anywhere in Asia, absolutely anywhere, so I don't know any of those histories. But it's interesting to find out that Saga, as a prefecture, ends up being absorbed into Nagasaki. But then during westernization, during this whole reform, this period where everything was changing for Japan, it ends up being absorbed into Nagasaki, becoming just another part of this other prefecture. And that is obviously what Kichi is fighting against. He wants Saga to be Saga. He doesn't want it to cease to exist anymore. Kichi wants to bring Saga back. Kotaro also wanted to have Saga on the center of the map, make it bigger. That's why he ended up wanting to create Franchuchu to save Saga with idols. I have to ask the questions. I'm afraid I've got to actually ask these questions. Is Kotaro a zombie? Or is it a coincidence? Or is Kichi just simply part of the family line? So he's going to end up being a dad to Kotaro or a great grandfather. So they're part of the same line. So lots of questions starting to answer. And I am so fascinated that I'm actually asking these questions about this simple idol anime. We see yet more 1881 Easter eggs. This time we have Yugiri, at this point, living a life as a hermit, not really interacting with the people of the outside world. She doesn't know anybody. She might be absolutely terrified of socializing. I know me, personally, if I was in a completely new surrounding where I know no one, I probably would start clinging to the environment that I feel safe in, which is the home that she is in. We end up with a very gorgeous scene. And now this sequence really does feel like it belongs to a completely different anime. I feel like I've accidentally watched a episode for Inuyasha, or I'm halfway through because of the music, because of the way these beautiful flowers all around it. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It really feels like I've got the wrong anime and I'm watching a historical romance where there's time skips and all the characters are going back and forth, having to save one another, and there's this ongoing plot line. Zombieland Saga has it's ascended to a new level where the amount of questions I now have are literally spewing out of my ears. The Yugiri and Kichi meeting is so fateful. The way we've got the flowers, the music is absolutely gorgeous. Everything is perfectly lit. Kichi almost just immediately having no chance but to fall in love with Yugiri as he sees her there. The Easter eggs continuing. This time we see Tai as her coach ends up almost killing Yugiri, and we see Kichi jumping in to be the White Knight, saving her and falling into the lake. Tai kind of speaking in more than just a zombie growl. She kind of goes, She doesn't really make the growling sound. She has one line, but again, great to hear her actually say something outside of being a zombie. Well, we get more information on how Yugiri ended up so popular that people used to bid to end up buying her time. She ended up so expensive that nobody could afford her in the end, so she kind of outbidded her market. Or it's just weird because obviously you'd think if Yugiri was the one who could essentially maybe have an influence on the price that would go for, if it was getting too high that no one would buy your time or be able to afford you, surely you'd go and lower it, put yourself back into the market. But I don't know enough about the entertainment industry in Japan. Kichi and his crush, but he ends up being warned off her by our very mysterious Ito. We're going to talk about Ito a little bit later on because I don't trust him whatsoever, and I do wonder if this might be our baddie, perhaps, maybe somebody we're not quite aware of just yet. But he does mention the word different world. He says she's from a different world. Maybe this is foreshadowing. Is there definitely something going on here? There's got to be something deeper at this point. There's too many things now starting to bubble up in this episode. But this is definitely the turning point. This is the episode that made Zombieland Saga something completely different, a whole new ballgame. It is very rare we see Kotaro in the mid-scene credits, but he's there. He's definitely there this week, and it's a great set of images we got. I love them. I love how they look. So we're going to start wondering, is it just simply just Easter eggs? We're just bringing all our cast in to have their own little appearances? Or is there something deeper going on? Is there fate? Is every single girl connected by fate? Were they all around at the same period? Then did they die? And then was Kotaro reborn to bring them all back and continue his mission to protect Saga, to bring all these girls together? It definitely looks like we're leaning on the idea that there might be something deeper going on, and there is this idea of fate, that all of these girls are connected via time, fate. I like it. I really like where we're going. I do hope that it is actually the case and we're not going to back out of this. Kichi ends up bringing a gift to Yugiri, and that's when he ends up falling really sick, perhaps from his dive in the water and the hot Saga sunshine. And he continues to mention the otherworld stuff. So there is a lot of influence on the word otherworld this week. It's just ominous. It's just a very odd phrasing to be used and to be brought up a few times, not just once. We are introduced to the grandfather of Kiichi, who starts to bring about even more little flags. There's flags absolutely everywhere of this guy. He ended up essentially maybe going crazy when he ended up losing Saga as a prefecture, which sent him over the board. However, he started to say something a little bit interesting. He started to ramble on about how he could raise the dead. And obviously this is Zombieland Saga, and what is a zombie? It's essentially a person who has been risen from the dead, brought back via the means of a virus or via other means, unworldly means. Is this where we're really going? Are we really actually going there? Is the anime really doing this? There is a secret of the zombies and it stretches back all this way to where we even have Yugiri on the board. It feels a bit more than just a coincidence. There has to be something to this. So what is the secret of the zombies? Because he's definitely succeeded. Even the way he eats the squid is the same as Tai. Is it a possibility that Tai is this old guy? Perhaps. I mean, we do see her as her own person this week, so maybe that could be it. Lots of little questions going on. Zombie dog. This is it. This is the confirmed link. There has to be a link here. It's the same dog. This man, this grandfather perhaps, this Kiichi's grandfather, he has the secret of the zombies. And I don't know what it is, and we still don't know what that dark secret is. But this dog is a zombie, and this dog is now 200 plus years of age, because this is 1881. Well, maybe he's not, he's just shy of 200. Because this is the same dog that we've seen being walked by Sakura. We've seen Tai walking as well. This episode is that key missing puzzle piece that we needed. Perhaps Kiichi is a distant relative of Kotaro. They're perhaps the same family, and this secret of zombies ends up being passed down within the family. We're also seeing the idea of the dream of Saga, keeping Saga alive. This is also being passed down along the family. The mission that was passed down generation to generation, and that's where we maybe meet up with Kotaro today, with him and his zombie singers. Yugiri may even have been that spark, as we even see that she takes an interest in Kiichi's line of work and she ends up rewriting the pamphlet that he's handed out. She sees something within the same dream. Easter egg for Lily and Saki. These are our final two that we end up being spotted in the past. I don't think Lily's going to be impressed that Lily was nothing more than just a crying child this episode. Well, let's now focus in on Ito and Yugiri. Their ominous meeting just feeling negative. Something didn't feel quite right when they met up, the way he just snuck up upon her, and she felt the need to protect herself. Yugiri is not happy about his presence, but who is he? He apparently is a friend, but he's only really known our boy Kiichi for a couple of years. That's not really enough to say who he really is. But the next scene just feels really odd. We have them sitting, being entertained. We have the shamisen being played. Ito starts to take a bit of an odd interest in the gentleman who ended up buying Yugiri's freedom. And then he goes back to putting a dampener on Kiichi's dream, the idea of him wanting to chase the idea of Saga. He tells him to simply do something helpful, marry, become a doctor, do something that's actually going to help, because you need to abandon this Saga dream. Is he just being an overly concerned friend who's worried that his friend's going to end up arrested or just in jail or going nowhere? Or is there something more going on? Why is he so convinced in trying to stop him pursuing this Saga dream? But it definitely seems that Yugiri maybe liked Kiichi. I don't know if it was a mutual thing, but Kiichi definitely had a crush on Yugiri. We've definitely seen some interesting interactions with Kotaro himself with Yugiri, where he sees her at the bar and then walks out and then he tries to avoid her. Ito tells us that change is inevitable, that Kiichi is gonna end up having his heart broken for chasing the idea of a new Saga. That he says that this country is too twisted. This is a very ominous thing to say. The country may be a bit hot right now, it's going through a reform, but to call it twisted is a little bit ominous. Now, I can't read Japanese, guys, but this letter that Ito has dropped into the bowl of a man who is definitely in disguise as a beggar, this looks very, very bad news. If there is a reader out there who can translate this and put it into the comments, I would do my best to try pinning it. I don't really have the ability to pin comments, annoyingly, because I don't have enough subs yet, but I will try my best just to kind of push everyone in that direction. This letter seems ominous. Is it a possibility that Ito is going to kill Kiichi? Is that what we're going to have? Is Kiichi going to become a zombie? Is he going to die and take the secret of zombies with him? Or is Kotaro hiding an even darker secret that he is older than we think. However, we have seen Kotaro as a child. We've seen him in a school with Sakura in the first season. So it's unlikely that that may be the case, but there definitely is something going on here. There's something interconnected right now. There's something that time itself cannot even break. Next week's episode seems to be very, very ominous. This is goodbye. This episode has set up so much. It's also just made this anime something completely different. It's just completely ascended. It's no longer just a simple idle anime where we're just trying to get these, I guess with a zombie twist, we're trying to get the zombies to be the next biggest thing idol-wise. There's something historical going on. There's something linked by the past. There's a possibility that all these people have got a link deeper than time and fate itself. Very, very interesting, and I am hooked. I am so glad this is part 1. We've got a part 2 coming up next week. So guys, join me next week as we try to start unraveling this rabbit hole. How far does the rabbit hole go? Is there really something deeper going on? Or is this simply just Easter eggs for us to pick up on? Because it doesn't feel like it's simply, hey look, there's all the girls in 1881. They shouldn't be there. They simply shouldn't be there. Because even Ai and Sakura being the most recent idols from the time period, both being in things like Iron Frill and being picked for Iron Frill, that is a recent thing. That's a modern time thing. They shouldn't be in 1881. So very interesting. Is it a coincidence? Is it a fun Easter egg? Or is there something more going on, guys? I am hooked. Zombieland Saga has just bumped itself up in my books. I've got my eye on you. But is it bumping itself up enough? So make sure you are subscribed, because what is going to make my top 3 anime of this season? I'm going to be picking that up, and that will be in the big review at the end in 3 weeks. Is Zombieland Saga doing enough to start bumping itself up? Will it even take the honorary spot? So I normally always give a dark horse a honorary position. So who's taking it this week? So thank you guys again for tuning in. I will see you guys next week. So much interesting stuff going on. Bye bye guys.